Hi, I'm going to answer some questions that I got on Instagram. The first one is, how do I deal with Canadian Thistle? I don't. Super common misconception when I say that I'm from Vancouver is people think Canada. I'm not from Canada. I'm from Washington State in the USA. So where I am, I'm about 10 minutes south of Portland, Oregon. In fact, usually I just tell people I'm from Portland, Oregon because that's less confusing. We do get thistles though, and I just end up having to pull them out. So you just have to get the whole root or they'll come back. Next question. If I have fencing, how does compost or chips gets delivered? It gets delivered on my driveway. I have to wheelbarrow it all over my property. Our property isn't set up that I could even dump it back in my back. I don't have the room for a tractor. Like, there's literally no way I could have a tractor. So every time I get a dump truck, I have to wheelbarrow it. And I know exactly how many wheelbarrows 12 yards is, which is usually the maximum amount of compost I can get delivered per truckload. And then when I get wood chips, it's usually 20 cubic yards. So if you're curious, 12 cubic yards is 75 wheelbarrows. So every time I get a dump truck, I know I'm like, I have to move this 75 times. Is it fun? No, it's not. But I just view it as another form of exercise, which is something I'm into. Honestly, like, my one tip is be careful, because when you're doing repetitive motions like that, it's super easy to get injured, and injured as a farmer is no fun. Troubleshooting bulbs not blooming that were fall planted. That could be a number of things. You could have gotten bad bulbs. If they didn't come up at all, I'd say that squirrels dug them up and ate them, or chipmunks or voles or gophers. If they came up but didn't bloom or bloomed poorly, it could be lack of water, it could be lack of sun. If they're really short, that could be lack of water or not enough cold during your winter. So generally it's recommended that if you're in 8B or higher, that you pre-chill your bulbs 10 to 14 weeks. Now that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because I'm in 8B, but I'm in Pacific Northwest 8B, which is different than like Texas 8B. So our winters, we just don't get super cold, but we're actually like 30 to 40 degrees all winter long, which is cold enough to pre-chill your bulbs. But like in Texas, it's considered 8B because it can get down to like 30 or 20 degrees, but your days could still be 80, and that's not cold enough. So those ones you would need to pre-chill. Do I have pets? No, I don't. That was actually a very conscious decision that my husband and I made. We both grew up with a lot of animals that we had to take care of. And we decided that when we got married, we were not going to have pets unless we both agreed to. And so far we have not wanted them. Our neighbors have pets and they have dogs. And, honestly, like, I think one of the questions was, I'm going to sit down because I forgot my tripod, so my arm is killing me. So I'm going to balance it with two hands. Like I said, these videos are real. Part of the question was, how do you keep pets from destroying stuff? I know a lot of farmers with pets. I think you just have to accept it, or fence everything in, or train them really well. But I think that, if you have pets, you're just going to have to factor that into part of your farming loss, that they might dig up crops. So, yeah, but I don't have any. I'm interested in how much you grow, how much you sell, your CSA, do you sell to florists, your flower stands? So this is a question that I would answer in subscriber content, which I'm working to put together. you know, talking about money and how much you do and, you know, all the costs that go into farming, it feels really personal, because I'm letting you into a part of like my life and like, you know, how I do what I do. And a lot of that, you know, comes with like a lot of personal discussion about myself and my goals and what I want to achieve. So that's one of the reasons why I want to do like a special subscriber content for those who are really interested in that. And so that is coming. I want to make it a pretty reasonable monthly fee. Like I'm thinking like $8 just to like compensate my time, but also not to kind of just like provide a barrier if, you know, the internet's not great for trolls. Like that's a thing. So I just want to kind of provide a barrier for that and a little bit of protection. So that's coming though. And I wish that those questions could be answered. Like I wish those questions could be answered when I started out. So I feel like it is something that I want to do, and it is something that I want to share because I have a real passion for helping people start fulfilling their dreams. So it's coming. Can you cover crop over dahlias if you overwinter them in the ground? Yeah, I would. Yep. If you have the climate that you could plant a cover crop over them, I totally would do that. The only reason I don't is, first of all, I dig up my tubers because I'm going to sell in the spring. And as soon as they're out of the ground, I'm planting spring crops. So I don't have the time to do that cover crop. How much land did I farm my first year? Under 500 square feet. I had 6 raised beds plus like an extra 200 square feet. So the 6 raised beds, they were 8 by 5 feet each. So that's 40 square foot times 6. So that's 240. And then I had like an extra, it was probably like somewhere between 200 and 300 square feet. So I'm just going to say it was 500 square feet. And I grew a lot of bouquets. Like I think that first year, I definitely, and like that was just summer, I definitely did over 100 bouquets. Yeah, in like 14 weeks. Plus I did a couple weddings. So yeah, you can grow a lot of flowers in a small space. You do not need acres and acres. So yeah. How many raised beds do I have? And how many did I start out with? Well, how many do I have? That's a great question. 1, 2, 3. I have 9 in the front, 9 wooden raised beds. I actually have like other like brick raised beds. So we'll just go with the wooden ones first. So I have 9 in the front, and then in the back I have 6 plus 7, so 13. So I have 22 wooden raised beds. And each of those is approximately, I'd say each one is approximately 30 square feet. So you can do the math on that. Or I can, let's see, 660 square feet of raised beds. And then like brick raised beds in my front. So in the back, I have a 5,000 square foot rock garden, but that includes paths, so it's not 5,000 square foot of growing space. And then in the front I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 more raised beds, and I'd average those out also around 30 to 40 square feet. So we have 660. We'll add on like another 400, so that's like 1,060. And then I have my dahlia field, which is 60 by 20, so that's 800 square feet. So yeah, I think total, well, I'll just like round up because I also have like a front border which isn't raised beds, but I grow like perennials and roses in there. I'll just say like it's like probably around 7,000 square foot of actual growing space. And yeah, I do a lot. So that's how much. Oh, and then how many raised beds did I start with? I started with the 6 that I mentioned before, plus the rock garden, but that was a lot smaller back then. So, well, I really just started with the 6 plus like an extra 200 square feet because the first year I actually grew a ton of vegetables. So the rock garden was actually mostly vegetables, and then the raised beds were flowers. So the first year I had 6 plus like an extra 200 square foot that was like right near my house. And that was, you know, approximately 400 to 500 square feet. So that's what I started out with. And then each year I've added on, and I have one more space in my back that I did a video on. And that's like the last main area that I could convert into more flowers. Like there's bits here and there, like I could make paths smaller. But I'm reaching the point after a few years of doing this where it's going to get to the point of maintaining and optimizing all my spaces rather than creating new ones. Growing in a small space is, I'd say the trickiest part about it is that your paths can get pretty small, and that makes working harder. So the benefit of having a lot of lands is you can make your paths as big as you want, and that definitely makes a lot of things a lot easier. So I'm not kidding when I say I can't have a tractor. Like my paths they're basically built so that they would fit a wheelbarrow exactly, and that's it. If we had a tractor, if someone gave us a tractor, we'd have no use for it because we'd have to like rework our entire property just to be able to drive it and actually make it useful. So, but on the flip side, a smaller area, it's less to maintain. And trust me, a half acre is a lot to maintain when you have it all planted. In some of my videos you'll see, like these are real videos, like I have stuff I'm way behind on. I'm way behind on weeding, because even with no-till you still get weeds. Like you're never not going to get weeds, it's just more how many weeds are you going to get, and over time your weed burden gets less. But like all the new areas that I created this year, I haven't been able to stay on top of weeding them, so there's weeds. And the crummy part about that is that if I don't get to them before they go to seed, then I'm gonna have a lot more next year too. So that's, you know, that's just farming. Like it's work. And I think that's one of the misconceptions that I hear a lot. You know, when you look at an account and you're like, oh, just pretty flowers. It's a lot of work. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do this extra subscriber content, because I want to like open the door to have a conversation with people who are doing this or who are considering it, that it's not just easy money. I 100% believe you can make a living off of it, but it takes a lot of strategy to get there, and you have to be smart about what you do and what you grow and how you sell. So, and you have to accept the fact that farming is a large part dependent upon weather, and that's not something that you can control, so you have to have contingent plans. So that's a little rabbit trail. You're probably going to have a lot of rabbit trails in these videos, not going to lie. But hopefully that answered some of your questions, and I'm going to do a few more answering some other ones that I got.